Do you want to learn how to make this cup? Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be making the Dalmatian floral split. I took inspiration from Susanna over at Glamour Tribe Customs. She did a floral leopard design, so I decided to make a floral Dalmatian. So today I'm going to show you how I made it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for new videos every Tuesday and Saturday, and that's all. Let's go. We're going to be using a 30-ounce skinny straight from Craft Haven for this tutorial. I've already sanded it and prepped it. It's completely dry and ready to go. When I'm doing a full vinyl wrap, I don't spray paint the cup because it's kind of an unnecessary step. You're not going to see it. You're not going to be able to tell. As long as the cup is still prepped really well, you'll have a good base and everything will be good to go. For the Dalmatian spots, we're going to wrap the cup with a sheet of patterned vinyl. You could definitely also, if you wanted to, paint the cup white and then either use vinyl spots or hand paint your spots. I just think going the vinyl wrap way is much easier and less time consuming. So I'm going to wrap my cup fully the way I always do. You guys have seen me do this before. I'm basically starting with just a little bit of the vinyl exposed and I'm applying it to the cup. I still have the backing on most of my vinyl and I'm gonna work my way around the cup using my thumbs to smooth the vinyl out over the cup, making sure we don't have any bubbles. And as I push with my thumbs, I'm pushing the vinyl down onto the cup, but I'm also at the same time pushing the backing off. So we're really letting the vinyl do all the work. We're just helping it and guiding it around the cup. I didn't speed this clip up because I wanted you to see how slowly I go. A lot of the times I'll speed it up and then it looks like I just wished it around the cup in a flash, but it really takes a few minutes. And you want to be as slow and as thorough as possible. If you go too fast or if you pull the backing all off at once, you're going to get a lot of air bubbles and it's going to be a struggle. And patterned vinyl is not cheap, so you don't want to just go all willy-nilly and crazy with it. Really take your time, make sure that your vinyl is laying flat and minimal bubbles is the goal here. So once I reach the end of my full wrap, I'm going to cut off any excess and just set that aside. And you can see here, I've got a little bit of overlap. You want some overlap so when you cut it off, you're not going to expose any stainless steel. So I'm going to take a piece of orange painter's tape. You could use blue painter's tape too, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put it a little bit past my line, my seam line, because again, I don't want to expose any stainless steel. So there's my overlap line and here's my tape. And I'm going to use this tape as a guide to cut off any of the excess. So I'm going to try to run my knife along the edge of this. As you know, I cannot cut a straight line and the tape kind of helps me. I still don't get it straight most of the time, but for this design, it's okay. It doesn't matter if your line is straight or not because we're going to cover it up with flowers later. So once we've got our excess vinyl pulled back, we're going to pull the bottom edges into the center. I ripped it, but that's okay. We're going to cover it up later anyway. I just like to finish my bottoms like this so we have a seamless transition from the sides of the cup to the bottom of the cup. Once I've got all my vinyl pulled towards the center, I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and cut all of that excess that's bunched around in the middle, and we're going to leave a very thin line on the edge just where it curves up over the bottom. Moving to the top of the cup now, I'm going to take all of that excess and pull it kind of up and over the rim, pulling it really tight around there so that we eliminate any bubbles or bunching or anything like that up against the edge of the cup. And once I have done that around the whole thing, I'm going to take my X-Acto knife again and cut horizontally, like right up against the rim, just getting rid of that excess vinyl. Once that's all gone, we're going to take our knife again and run it at about a 45-degree angle along the rim of the cup to get rid of all of those little stragglers that might still be hanging up over the edge. We want to make sure that we don't have any of those coming up because when we epoxy, it could give us problems later. So just run your knife lightly along there and you should be all good. So here I am cutting my bottom bunch off. And as you can see, I just left a tiny, tiny bit. Once we get to the end, we're going to spray paint that and cover it so you won't even be able to tell. I'm gonna do a quick check of my cup for any tiny air bubbles we might have, poke them with the tip of my X-Acto knife and just rub the air out, and you won't even be able to tell that there were bubbles. I'm going to do 1 coat of CCDIY Fast Set epoxy on this, and once it's cured, we can apply our flowers. I'm going to apply our flowers on the seam where our vinyl meets, so you're not even going to see it at all. I put these flowers together in Canva, and I downloaded all the individual flowers from Creative Fabrica. So there's, I think, 3 different packs of flowers in this one bundle, and I just put them together, saved it as a PNG file, and then uploaded it into Pages on my Mac. And now I'm going to cut it out by hand. I don't quite trust my print and cut with this, and I want to leave most of those open white holes that I have in the middle of the image just as is, because when we put them onto our white cup, you won't even be able to tell that they're there. I sized this entire thing at about 10 inches high, and I'm making sure that I line up my top and bottom leaves that are sticking out with the seam. So wherever the flowers go after that is up to them. There is no real center or front of this cup. We're just trying to make sure the seam is hidden. So I make sure that those top and bottom leaves cover the seam, and then we're usually good. You can't see anything. I pull the entire piece of backing off at one time and then just apply those leaves to the seam and then flatten out each side of the decal one at a time, basically. And I'm just making sure there's no bubbles, no lifting, no bunching, anything like that. Just making sure that this is laid down as flat and as perfectly as possible. We are going to seal this using Quick Coat from CCDIY before we go in with a coat of epoxy. I just put a little bit of it in this squeeze bottle so I can squeeze out as much as I need, and I apply it to the entire cup, make sure everything is evenly coated, let it dry about an hour, and then I'll go in with my epoxy. I'm using Fast Set from CCDIY again, and I'm applying about 30 milliliters to the cup. I let it cure about 4 hours before I was ready to move on to the next step. If you're using regular epoxy, you'll want to wait probably a full 12 hours. Our next step is to outline our flowers. This is a really nice detail that gives the flowers just a little bit more pop, adds a little bit more dimension. I'm going to be using the all white paint marker. I grabbed both because I didn't know which one I was going to use, but this is the one I'm using, obviously. So the way I do this outline is very kind of rough and whimsical. I'm not trying to perfectly outline them or make sure I hit every leaf, every petal. I'm really just going around whatever I feel like I want to pop. This is like a very low pressure situation. So I'm just going around kind of highlighting different petals, outlining the leaves, adding just a little bit more fun and really whimsy to these flowers. Don't feel like you have to outline everything perfectly. Don't feel like you have to stay in the lines or stay like on the floral pattern itself. Don't be afraid to go into your pattern vinyl portion and really just go where you feel like you want to outline. This does not have to be perfect. In fact, the less perfect it is and the more messy, it's probably going to look better. So don't feel like you have to do this perfectly. Just have fun and go for it. I'm going to let this sit and dry about an hour, and then I'm going to seal it with a coat of epoxy. I didn't use the Quick Coat on this part because you don't really need to. It's gonna dry and it won't smear anywhere. So I'm just gonna go straight into my epoxy. I'm going to use about 20 milliliters, and once that's cured, we are going to finish off the bottom. Finishing the bottom is super easy. We're going to take some electrical tape and tape off the bottom rim. I'm going to place my tape right on the edge of where I ripped our vinyl earlier to make sure that we can cover that with spray paint, and I'm just going to use that as my guide. I prefer to use electrical tape for things like this rather than like painter's tape because it's really flexible and easy to mold around any curves or edges that you have. So for this cup, I'm using where I ripped the vinyl and taking the tape around and making sure that I'm not going too high on to the side of the cup because I really want to keep the paint way focused at the bottom. But as you can see, I'm just kind of pulling and molding my tape to make sure that we get a pretty straight circle, but that we don't go up onto the edge of the cup. I'm going to wrap the rest of our cup in saran wrap to make sure we don't get any spray paint where we don't want it to go. This is a really great trick to save yourself a lot of painter's tape and a lot of headaches. So highly recommend getting some saran wrap. I just get mine at Sam's Club. I used gloss black from Rustoleum to paint the bottom. I'm immediately going to remove the saran wrap and our tape. I'm going to let it dry about 30 to 45 minutes and then go in with our final coats of epoxy. I just did one final coat. I used artist resin from CCDIY, let it cure a full 24 hours before I touched it, and that was it. We were done. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit that like button, and also hit the subscribe button for new videos every Tuesday and Saturday. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!